Hi, my name is Louie Shalin, and I welcome you all in our next video in emotions. This video is gonna be really special as we'll be joined by one of our special guests, Emilie Castillon. She has been working in this domain for more than 10 years and she has a very good experience in this domain. She specializes in the domain of love, relationships, and connections. Today, we'll be addressing one of the very specific topics, and which is the impact of lockdown, the impact which has been due to COVID-19 on families, units, and relationships. All right, so um, just waiting for Emily to join. Hello, Emily.
Hi. Hi,
Welcome.
Louis.
Good, I'm good. Thank you. How are you doing?
Very good. Very good today. Thanks.
It's really nice to have you over today,
Thank
and
you.
it's an honor to be for you to be here because what we'll be talking about today. This is one of the very specific and very pertinent issues which
Mm,
we have which is quite prevalent in the modern day, and it's so lovely to have an expert talking about it.
Thanks. Can you hear me properly?
Yes, I can hear you talking.
Okay,
So,
so that's all good. Yeah, so this all lockdown situation has been very heavy for many families, and mostly for, I would say, two really big reasons. And it's mostly because all family structure has been completely thrown upside down in terms of time and in terms of space. So basically, in their normal life, people like children go to school, the husband go to work, the wife go to work or stay at home, do the stuffs, and everyone has a life organized in terms of time and in terms of space. And everyone used to spend time together during a certain time of the day in the home. And now all those routines and all of that has been completely thrown away. Everyone live 24/7 under the same roof. And it's really challenging for many families.
yeah, it's kind of that earlier. I think the families which were spending around, we can say 1 to 2 hours a day, and
Yeah,
now it's constricted in a space. I would not say constricted, but yes, for some of them it's kind of a quality time which they are spending, but for some of them it's more. It has become more like a pressure cooker, and where everything is just seeming to have bottled up. Now
100%.
around 24, they are now together 24/7, and
Yes, absolutely. Before, like in normal life, people used to have a balance, and the relationship used to have a balance in being together and not together. And now the issue is they don't have this balance anymore. They're together all the time. So if the relationship was a little bit brutal and a little bit fragile, this is just gonna create more separation quicker.
mm,
This is the thing. But if the relationship is really solid, it may tend actually to do the opposite and actually bond people more. So we have like two effects here. We have like really an acceleration effect from this lockdown. It really reveals which relationships are solid and which relationships are not solid enough to go on the long run.
yeah, right. I would say that's quite well said. That has this acceleration effect
Yeah,
because because many people have observed like the divorce rates have gone up during this time,
yeah,
and also observed there have been many cases for domestic violence as well, which is
yeah.
not so. And yeah, right, the acceleration effect because people who have been drifting apart, so it literally accelerated their journey and they drifted apart, like which would have happened in next 2 or 4 years. So that just happened in 1 or 2 months.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. So
So
it's a very, yeah, it's a very unusual situation.
Mhm. Right, because no one, like, absolutely no one literally expected the situation to be. And I think this is the reason it has struck everyone just all of a sudden, and everyone has been caught unawares with the situation.
Yes, yes, that's correct. And the thing is, um, you know, when people have conflicts and all of that, usually they have a way out. They can escape to work, they can go see friends, they can leave, you know, the kind of the family cocoon. If there is tensions, they can go somewhere. But right now, if there is like conflicts and tensions, they cannot go anywhere. And this is actually why we have a rise in violence and things like this, because people have to really face each other, and there is no running away in this situation in terms of
Right,
conflicts. In terms of conflicts management, it has impacted a lot the people as well on that regard. People cannot go see their friends, they cannot like leave the relationship, go somewhere else. They have to stay under the same roof, and they have to deal with the conflict in this way.
right, right, actually. So how much does like the running away plays a role in a relationship? Because when people were going to work, when people were living their normal lives, they were meeting their friends, they were going out partying and holidaying, and now everything is constricted now. So how does like running away affect a person? Like how it has been one of the major factors.
Or the thing, when you have the possibility to go out, you give some air, you give the relationship some air and some space. Right now, giving some air and some space in the relationship um, is very hard to do,
Mhm.
because you have to manage to do it under the same roof, and this is really challenging. And everyone knows that for a healthy relationship, you need to give some air, you need to give some space. Sometimes people do need to space out of each other. But in those times, with restrictions imposed, um, technically it's not possible.
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
this need of space that would allow the relationship to go through this flow is not possible.
Mhm. So right, it's about the emotion with which people are living these days. The emotion, like it has been really restricted with what are with what are the emotions they are living through these days. Earlier, I
Lots
would
of
say,
stress.
right, a lot of stress, and I think
Mm.
that's causing stress. Earlier, there were quite a lot of emotions which a person was going through. Being at work, I think it's just like going through what's going on at work and meeting their colleagues, meeting their friends,
Mm.
and now just with the same emotion. If they are with their wife at home, if they are with their kids at home, it is
Mm.
just this emotion they're having day in, day out.
Yeah,
And not so pleasing if it's affecting them adversely. And I think this is the reason which is causing or which has increased more number of separations, and also there has been a spike in the cases of domestic violence.
absolutely. Absolutely. That's correct. And the thing in terms of emotions, because people are being really pushed, they're really getting pushed to their limits, I would say, like especially here with the rules that we have. For people who are a little bit already anxious, or who are already on a little bit of depression, it's extremely hard for them to manage their emotions, because there is no much support actually, out there. All those rules are being imposed on people, but I don't see any efficient support that is provided to help them to go through this. I'm talking about mental and emotional support here.
Right, 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 of course. So then what kind of mental and emotional support, I was wondering, what would help people at the moment?
Um, Provided the circumstances, the best they could do is stay in touch with their loved one, unfortunately, it can be done like mostly over the phone, but the best thing they could do, provided the circumstances, would be to do a lot of Skype video call with the friends, so at least they can see each other, they can have a live chat. That would be much more effective than just texting or communication via messengers or things like this. In those times, people are craving for connection more than ever, I would say. And usually I would say the phone is like a terrible thing for relationship, but in those times, it actually can really help if people use it mostly for conference call, Skype, FaceTime, these kind of things. That would be the best way, I would say, for people to stay in touch in the healthiest way possible, I would say, in terms of communication, where they can see each other, they can hear each other, they can hear each other's voice. This is very important, the voice.
Yeah, hearing the voice.
Yeah.
It's really deep. It has a really deep impact on a person's life. And talking, and there's a conversation categorically going on. It's basically the engagement of emotions which can really help people in this situation.
I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you. Can you repeat, please?
Yeah, sure. I'm saying so. I think there's this engagement of emotion which is required at the moment. Some
Yes.
nice and good engagement of emotion which can really help them have a variety of emotions, which can help them live through a variety of emotions and not just being bottling down to the same ones day in, day out.
Yes.
So I think there's a balance, like which if if it can be maintained, that what they are receiving and what they are trying to portray from within, because it's always emotions are they work in give and take. We take emotions from outside, we give emotions to outside and to us around, to the people around us, and if a balance can be maintained between the two, if there
Yeah.
can be balance like, between the two, so I think it can be of really great help.
Yes, that's the hard part to do. So it's really hard to maintain this balance during this time because not many people do have the right tools for that, to maintain this balance. It's all about having the right tools for this, you know.
Right, right. So I was wondering what it has been the impact on kids, because they were going to school earlier and now I think that they're also studying from home. The live classes going on through via Skype or via Zoom. So
Yeah,
what?
the the impact on the kids is actually really bad because now children are spending an enormous amount of hours staring at screens, doing online classes. And this is actually really detrimental for them in terms of cognitive development and cognitive behavior. Children are meant to interact with other humans. This is how they develop their cognitive functions, right? And having children removed from their classrooms, removed from their friends, their groups and all of that, and just putting them all day in front of a screen, to me, it's really alarming. And I know here in Victoria, where I live, I do know many families where the children are having a really hard time coping with this. And I would not say lots of children go already into depression, but depression might be a little bit of a strong word for this, but I do hear a lot of complaints from the kids and a lot of unhappiness on that level. Lots of children are not happy with the e-learning and lots of children are missing going to school.
Right, that's a big part because what they're missing is human interaction, which
Yeah,
is the primal things for emotional development and also cognitive development, as rightly said.
yeah,
And also, I think parents have also been working from home, and there have been a lot of people. So everyone is working from home, and there So they are sitting together, and everyone is busy with their own. They're busy in their own, staring at their own screens. So this is also
Absolutely.
emotional health a lot.
Absolutely, that's absolutely true. So, the screens just have completely invaded the homes. The parents work from home. They spend the all days working on the computers while the kids are doing their homework on their side, and everyone is just completely locked on their own screens, being completely disconnected from each other in the family, but as well from themselves. Because when you spend all day staring at a screen and interacting with a screen, I would say, this is not very healthy for humans in terms of connection. And when the more you disconnect from yourself, the hardest it's going to be for you to process your emotions.
Yeah, right, absolutely. Also, like staring at the screen, we are interacting with an interface and not really a human. And the
That's correct.
interface is more at the level of thought and more at the level of of image processing and less at the level of emotion, because that's not gonna transfer the emotion as it is, and it's just gonna transmit the information.
Absolutely. Absolutely. See, that's the
So,
thing. It's not everything, like everything nowadays is transferred online and we have to just deal with it. But we are we are beings of emotions and of energy, and you can't really transmit the things through screens. Not everything can go through. And when you just exchange information with a screen, like you say, like we are doing right now, it's not at all the same like sitting with someone physically, having someone in front of you and sharing this energy. There is an energy sharing that is completely being cut off here. And I think it starts to create a big block within everyone, within all the members of the family units, on that regard, on that matter.
right, absolutely. It's really because it's really affecting the emotional health, larger perspective.
Mm,
Yeah, really, I was rather wondering that how beautiful is this balance which needs to be maintained at the moment, because people they are connected and they are connected through a virtual medium, and people they are supposed to be not, I would say supposed to be connected, but yes, a connection is a vital part of their emotional health at the moment.
absolutely,
And
absolutely. It's the base of everything.
it is amazing. And at the same time, we need to also give equal importance to the human connection, like in the physical connection, the physical proximity and talking to someone in person or spending some time with in person. So I think that is something which matters a lot at the same time. And being connected with family via Skype and via social media, that too plays an important role. But so I think it's just a balance, like how beautifully things can be balanced, and it gets the best of both, kind of getting the best of both the worlds.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's all depend how, yeah, how you use these devices. Like they can be enabled, but they can be like something good too. And right now, in terms of balancing all the things and balancing real human contact and digital human contact, I would say, let's just call it digital human contact. I think, to bounce back on what you said before, if people have the chance to be locked down with people living in their homes, I think they should create a sacred time where they can be all together without any screens. And when they need to get in touch with loved ones, friends, or other family members that are not with them right now, to create some time as well where they can connect with them online. And I really believe that you were talking about balance before, that if they really create clear demarcations between the time they're going to share with people in the real life and the time they're going to share with people in the online world, and they have a clear demarcation and time for that, we can reach eventually this balance you were mentioning before. But we need demarcations for that. We need to set clear demarcation for this, I believe.
Right. Precisely, because this is going to be quite an intricate balance. There's connection and there is, I would say, this connection is very balanced, and the connection has to be there, but there should not be any overdoing of anything, not
Yeah,
overdoing of line connection, and also at the same time, if they have the same emotion offline, if they're spending a lot of time offline, but they still need to be connected with their friends and family.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So
So
what
yeah,
can
it's
sorry?
what were you saying?
Yeah. So I was asking that what can parents do more to connect with their children, as the children are at home these days and they're not really going to school. So what kind of maybe exercises they can do, or what kind of connection they can share, or what more they can do from their part?
Right. Something that they could do that could be really beneficial for the whole family unit, but especially for the children, would be to really set a time, maybe at the end of the day or in the evening when everyone is done with work and with homeschool and all of that, is really to share maybe an activity all together where there is no screens involved. Like it can be, I don't know, playing cards or having a nice conversation around dinner without any phone or anything. It would be about setting a moment where everyone is together, maybe playing a board game or something like this, but when there is no interruption and no screen, no phone call, nothing like this, where the screen will be completely out and the people, the humans, will be all together without any technology interrupting the activity. It doesn't need to be complicated. It can be like playing a board game together or just having a nice conversation, having dinner together around the table without any phone or iPads or anything like that. And being really having this discipline to say, now we're going to have a moment all together, turn off your phone, turn off the TV, get rid of the iPad, and really take the time to really connect all together during this moment. This is really, really important, especially because the children at this time don't have their friends or their teacher to relate to. They only have their parents for this. So it is, I believe, the responsibility of the parent to set a time and set a space for that.
Right. It's quite simple, but it requires a lot of discipline for the parents and also to set it for the kids at the same time.
Yeah,
Because because turning off a device, sometimes it becomes really hard for a person to turn it completely off and then engage with something offline.
it is. It is because we're getting, not only we're getting addicted to it, but we're getting used to this addiction. So basically, we're getting used to interact with screens more than we interact with real humans. And to me, this is a little bit dangerous
Mhm.
because we, on a biological level, we are not meant for that. Humans are still meant to interact with real humans, not so much with a machine. And I do believe that lots of anxieties today and even depressions that people are experiencing are directly or indirectly linked to this over interaction with machines, over direct human interaction.
Right. So it's one of the things is that when we interact with devices, a device is something which is, of course, electronically controlled, and it's a lot faster than human processing.
Yeah,
And human, we generally process an emotions, as you said earlier. So the processing of those emotions is a lot slower, and giving it proper time, giving it proper space, and letting that thing happen is thing which I think over interaction with devices, it actually restricts that.
yeah, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And then it creates a huge gap between what your soul requires and what your mind is going through. A huge gap between processing and feeling.
Right, processing and feeling.
Yeah,
And this manifests in the form of anxiety and also depression, because this gap needs to be bridged like sometime or the other. So
absolutely.
what we are going through these days, there are two set of extremes which have been set. One is with the overuse of devices, like with the overuse of the screen time, because we are meeting less number of humans each day. So this is leading to more and more of anxiety. And
Yeah,
the other is for bottling up of the emotions, because being in the same space, being with the same people, being with the same emotions has deeply affected like the psyche, and it's just every emotion it has tend to bottled up. What has been can you hear me?
all good way back.
Yeah, yeah. So the other thing is that it is like really affecting. It's really affecting like what has been quite prevalent in the couples as well, that they are living with the same emotions, and so that gets bottled up.
Absolutely. And it gets bottled up because, like we said before, um, when people had the possibility to go to work, see their friends and everything, they could release those emotions at some point with other people. But now everything is just constricted under one roof and with the same group of people. So whichever emotion you would release to X, Y, Z, now you cannot really do that. So you have to kind of keep it within yourself or maybe text it to other people, but the process is, it cannot be the same. It
Right.
cannot be the same.
And I was wondering, like, with spending more and more time with the family, I think
Yes,
couples and they would have started to interact at, I would say, at a much deeper level of emotion, because emotion, going deeper in emotion generally takes time,
yes,
and they are getting more and more time to do that. So now I think they're interacting more in terms of beliefs. So that so as in when there's a clash of belief, or if the beliefs are in line, so I think that has caused the acceleration effect.
yes, that's correct. That's correct. The acceleration effect can play on many levels. It can play on an emotional level within the relationship, depending on how people are getting closer or putting apart. And in terms of beliefs as well, this whole situation is really challenging beliefs like we never had before. And people are really pushed to face their belief and to grow from it. And some of them will face resistance. And if you look at a couple, if you have one who is actually embracing the change, embracing the growth, and the other one is getting stuck into resistance, then you can have definitely. Oh, I'm just going to take my cat out of the desk. Then you can definitely have a really big gap that can appear between the two persons in the relationship, because the beliefs are getting way too stretched, and this can create additional tensions.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Because it's kind of a string which is getting stretched. Like the farther they move emotionally or with the defenses to that situation.
Yeah,
I think deeply affecting the couples, like not just as couples, but also as individuals.
yeah,
And at the same time, I think this time for couples this can also be used for. I think they can come on the same page with a lot of things, and they can generally work on a stronger connection, on building that stronger connection.
they can, but unfortunately, not many people go through this way, because there is as well an element of vulnerability in there. if you want, if you want to go this way. And in this time where there is a lot of stress put upon people, the last thing people want is to feel or appear more vulnerable, because means it's going to be easier for them to break at some point. I'm talking about inside, if it had to occur. So people are looking actually for ways to feel like more safe and showing more vulnerability.
Yeah, right.
Is a little bit contradictory to this at the moment.
Well,
And this
right.
is yeah, if
Yeah,
that makes
so,
sense.
right. It does. It does. In fact, it's quite beautifully worded, as you said, that if we wanna change something, we gotta look at it from a neutral perspective. And when we do that, we become vulnerable. But when we are looking at it from a neutral perspective, and we are coming to good conclusions. So that makes us stronger eventually, but there's a process.
Yeah.
There's a process.
And this process requires vulnerability.
Right. So I think it's also the kind of effort, or I would say yes, the effort, the emotional effort to let that guard down and let the vulnerability be out, and let their vulnerability be shown to their partner. Because many
Absolutely.
couples, many individuals, they're quite skeptical about this. They don't
Mm,
want to about their vulnerability.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's a time, all the things that you're meant to be vulnerable in a relationship. This is the only way you can really bond with someone, and you can really actually let this flow of energy and emotion go through you and go to the other person. If you close the door and you're not vulnerable, this cannot happen. But in this context of lockdown, because of all the stress put upon people, I think this really cuts that flow. At least that's what I can see. That's what I can see, and it cuts the flow as well, because we were talking about balance before. All the balance of people is being like completely thrown upside down, but not only one time, every day, because every day pretty much the rules change. New rules, new things are just like popping up from the governments, and people have to adjust all the time and go with this. And this
Right.
doesn't really allow them to kind of, in the relationship unit, sit down a little bit, get the guard down, and allow themselves to open. Because when you want to open, you need to kind of feel in a safe space, but the environment around you with all these changes don't really allow the space to feel safe.
Right, absolutely. Feeling safe is something that's paramount in, I think, opening up and showing up for the vulnerability.
That's correct.
So, what do you feel can the couples do at this time? How can they do like go about this time so it helps them bond better? So,
um, I think there is few things they can do. The first thing would be to create more demarcations within the house itself, because now everything is completely mixed up. Personal life, working life, school, everything is completely, it's like a big bowl of spaghetti. Everything is just mixed up with each other, and this is not really helping. So I think if people create demarcation under the roof, it will help a little bit. Like, let's say, for example, I'm going to take one example. Let's say if you now working in the living room with all your computers and stuff over there, when it's dinner time, remove everything, maybe put some other setup on the table to show that it's dinner time and it doesn't look like an office. You know what I mean? In terms of screen usage, that can be a great idea to use the screens only in some parts of the house and get some other parts of the house like screen free, where we can have like connection together at the end of the day. No screens are allowed in there. So I believe creating really demarcation and maybe little rituals at the beginning or end of the day can really help with all of that. It doesn't need to be complicated, it can be quite simple, but having the discipline to do so would be the key here.
Right. So it's like understanding the demarcation and like I would like to put it in slightly different words. It's kind of the role and the place.
Yeah,
For example, man and the woman in like in the house, they are husband and wife, and they're a parent. The moment they go to their work, they are employees. They might be in any field they would be working at. But yes, in that time, like at the time they're working, they're professionals.
correct. Correct. So basically, people are wearing all those identities, but those identities are different according to the time and space of the day, right? And now all your identities, you're wearing like 4 or 5 hats on the top of each other, and they're inside of your own home. So yeah, if you create clear demarcation and boundaries inside of your home for now, it helps to manage these different identities that you wear during the day, because now it's all bottled up on the top of each other.
Oh, okay, right, right. It also depends. Like for example, who is interacting with whom? Like, is it the professional who's responding to their wife, or it's the husband who's responding,
Yeah,
who's responding,
yeah,
and vice versa, and vice
that's
versa.
good. That's correct. That's true. Yeah,
So I
because
think
right
that
now there is like for the women there is a woman's hat, the mom's hat, the administrative assistant, the friend. Uh, it's all these hats are usually worn, at different places, but all these places are now all combined under one roof. So if people manage to create the demarcations in their home and say, okay, I'm going to work in this room, we're going to have dinner together in that room. The classroom is going to be, maybe if they have 2 children, the classroom is going to be one of the kids' bedroom from that time of the day, maybe 7 o'clock or whatever. No more screens. We're going to have dinner together, no screens, no iPad, no TV, and have proper conversation with each other. And really like respect those if people respect those demarcations and those rituals, it will really help in managing all those identities and shift like during the day.
right. So it's also like managing these identities within,
Yeah,
and this is
absolutely.
discipline, and there has to be some kind of a seamless like transformation that happens. Because earlier, I think people were traveling, so the space matters. Of when a person enters home, a person enters the role of a husband or a wife or a parent.
Yeah,
And when they used to go out, they are professional or they are working like, the way they are different. And now, like in the same space, they have to be different individuals at the same space, like in the same space.
yeah, absolutely.
So
So
like they're
it's
let sorry, please.
sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, so they kind of have to let go of their previous self, like not really the previous self completely, but yes, their role.
Yeah,
They have to let go of the previous role and enter into a new role completely. Like this transition.
yeah, and you can help the transition with small rituals. Like for example, um, let's say it can be even something like you wear or unwear, or it can be once you enter this room, I'm wearing this hat, and once I'm getting out of of that room, I'm taking the hat of the work off. I leave it in that room, and now I'm the spouse or whoever I meant to be at that time. So it can be like a kind of ritual just by passing a door, or maybe by arranging, like, let's say if you're working, tidy up the room just to say, okay, I'm finished, I'm closing my computer, I'm putting my phone on charge, I'm tidying up the room to say that it's finished. It can be like a little ritual to kind of say the working hat is off. Now I'm going to put the wife hat on and carry on with the evening maybe.
Right, right, absolutely. So it's quite like seamless for them, but there has to be a demarcation, like there just has to, it's just discipline. The
Yeah,
moment there's demarcation, when it sets in, like it's kind of, it makes it very seamless and it makes it very comfortable for almost everyone at home.
100%. Definitely. And I think people need that, I believe, because if you don't really have those clear demarcations and use those little rituals, I think things will get really jammed up in people's brain on the long
Right,
run, because unfortunately those measures are not here for 1 or 2 weeks, like they say. It's there for much longer. So if people don't find those new ways to adapt in a healthier way, I would say, I believe emotions and all of this can get really, really jammed up within people. And this is where anxiety going to kick in. This is where depression going to kick in. And this is where self-defense within the relationship and becoming more aggressive will kick in too.
right, right. So this is also leading to violence, like domestic violence. That's true.
That's correct. My cat just like to go on the on the desk. Sorry for that.
No problem, no problem. Cats are really cute too. They're really cute to say, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if I'm getting it correctly, like there are many things which, for example, a person is playing five roles.
Yeah.
One is of a professional, one is of a parent, one is of a spouse, and maybe they are a member of a club, so they are a member of a club, and which of course that side has gone down because everything's closed at this time, and maybe there's one more role which they're taking up, and yeah, so that's the fifth one, the virtual side.
What was, I did not hear the end of the sentence, sorry.
Yeah, so let the fifth one be their virtual side, the side which they have in the social media, because
Yeah.
that itself is a face, something that represents us.
Yeah.
And so once the lockdown started, yeah, so now with each of the sides, each of the roles, some of them they are pleasing to the person, and some of them they are not so pleasing to the person.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And not
And
only this, um, as well, some people are really attached to one of this identity. Let's say, for example, especially for men, some men are really attached to their role at work, to the professional identity. And when this identity is being completely stripped off from you and your job is being taken down and you have to stay at home and you are losing this side of this identity side of you that was so important to you, this is something that is not being addressed at all in terms of emotional support to families. And
right,
we see now the rise of suicide and depression linked directly to this is going like really, really high, really, really high, because people are getting really attached to those identities of them. And some of those identities are going to be enhanced. And like you said, it can be some pleasant or unpleasant identities, but it can be as well some essential identities.
right, that's quite rightly said. Essential identity.
Mm.
So, for example, as you took the example of a man who has a professional identity which is quite profound, which
Yeah,
is a major part of his image, his self-image. And then there is this identity of his which is in the club, where
yeah,
he's respected, where he is like renowned. Like, everyone knows him and everyone talks about him. This man has been, we can say, most of them are these days, they are ignorant towards their emotions
yeah,
and they are ignorant towards the emotions of their family. So this has weakened the role.
Sorry.
No problem, no problem. So this has literally weakened his ties with his family, and this has weakened him the role which he's sharing with his family, with his spouse, and with his kids. And now, by being constantly at home, now the work has shifted at home. He's no more a professional who's going out, but
Yeah,
yes, he's still staring at the screen. But yes, ambience, it matters a lot. It matters deeply.
absolutely. Absolutely. And on that regard, there is this kind of, for the people who actually lost completely their businesses, there is a grieving process that goes with it. Like people are going through this grieving process of not only their own identities that they're losing right now, but those things that they have built for maybe for all their life. It took them maybe a lifetime to build those things, and now it's just getting completely stripped away from them, and it's being like destroyed. And people are going through a lot of grieving in those times, you know.
Right,
Uh,
and this times it comes out as a blame.
mm,
Blame towards other things, blame towards other person.
yeah,
Yeah, so I'm saying comes out as a blame,
the
blaming,
blame.
blaming other people and blaming the situations and
Yes,
blaming people around them.
the other people not so much, but the situation very much. And the thing, it's actually a hard one here, because when you have someone to blame, at least you kind of feel that you can see the root of the cause of your situation. But when it's a global situation and you cannot put your finger or point your finger towards something that you can see, when you're dealing with blame, this is actually much harder. You cannot put a slap on the face of this situation. If I have
Exactly.
to blame someone for something that's happening to me, I can go speak to this person, get it out, and the blame feeling can really like flow and get out. But when it's like about a situation,
Right,
how you going to face the situation and kind of confront it? Like you can't. So that's another thing here.
right. So acceptance and letting go. Acceptance it also plays a vital role here.
Yeah,
Accepting of the situation because you can't really change anything. You can't
that's
really change
correct.
the situation.
You can change it, and you cannot challenge it either. If it's
Right,
another person, you can challenge the person. If it's a situation, you can't challenge it. If that makes sense.
right. Surely it does. It's simply 100% acceptance, what's needed. And moreover, so what we were talking about, it's a person's ignorance towards the other three sides, three roles. Like, and when a person is eventually ended up at home during this time, and now those sides are coming up in the sense they are emotionally more prevalent now.
Yeah.
The role of a husband, the role of a parent,
Mm.
and, mainly the other two sides, the two most pleasing sides, what a person has been building over all these years, it has just gone to the background.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you say, now everything that was bottled up just like completely comes up, and it can be even things that like people could like have hide it for like the last 5 or 10 years. Now when you take someone and you put someone under pressure like this, whatever was held inside for god knows how many years, this is actually the perfect time for things to just come up.
Right. So the thing is just coming the relationship with husband. A person has to focus on the relationship, on being a parent. This is like really affecting the people at this time.
It is. It's a very,
And
very, very It's a very challenging time for many people, mentally, emotionally. But you know what? At the same time, it's I think there is no better opportunity for growth. It's an extraordinary opportunity for personal growth. And for couples, I think it can be something very positive for the strong ones, and something positive too in a way for the weaker ones, because it will allow a relationship to dissolve if the relationship is really not meant to be. It's going to reveal what's meant to last and what is not meant to last.
Truly, truly, truly. Because that also plays an important role. Letting go what's meant to. And
Yeah.
as you said, it's a big opportunity for the ones who are targeting growth or who are wishing growth at this time. Because they can challenge their beliefs, they can actually address almost all their roles because now they don't have to deal with all of them. Now
That's
a person
correct.
doesn't have to deal on being a professional, being the one at the club, or being social.
Mm.
Uh, all those have just faded away. So it's kind of they can just be focused on the roles on which they really want to focus. Or yeah,
Yes.
right. So the roles
Now
have been
they
cut.
have the time for that.
Right. This is the
Mm.
time for that. So this is also like self connection, like forming a connection with self,
Yeah.
forming a connection with self, because that is also going to aid a person in having those clear demarcations with the roles and playing all the roles effectively, like coming out of one and going into another one. So this transition
Mm.
from one to another.
Absolutely. Absolutely. People will manage, it's going to be a very good exercise to manage to do this if people don't get caught up in the more and more screen addictions.
Right, right. So I
Mm.
think in that case, the virtual role, the side of their virtual role is gonna take all the attention, and that's gonna
Mm.
grow dramatically,
Yeah.
which will take them even further, even farther from their emotions.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, like, how art has played a role during this time.
What was the question again? Sorry.
Yeah. So how art has played a role, art, performing some art or practicing some art, practicing some hobby.
Ah, art can be something really fantastic in those days. Like painting, music, writing, anything can help so much to translate emotions that you don't manage to get out like in any other ways. And I really think there will not be better time than now to actually invest in art, because art is something really incredible to help people to translate their own emotions. It can be very hard to, to speak up your emotions, because most of the time we don't have the vocabulary for it. We don't have
Ab-
sometimes the words that can really match what we feel. But in terms of art, because art is all about imagination and therefore it's infinite, it can be a really great way to translate what's going on in the inside world.
Right. And art also it exists beyond words
Yeah.
because there are things which can be expressed through art, but they cannot be expressed in words.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think they are like if we demarcate people, like people who have been practicing art and people who have not been in people who have not been into them.
Yeah,
So I think there's a lot of variation like for this time for them, like this time for lockdown, for the people who have been performing arts, it has been a lot better for them overall.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, because that's something which they carry with them and which they can bear on, they can practice, and they have also come a long way practicing that during this time.
Mm, absolutely. And this that
Right.
can be actually a really nice activity when we were talking before, like what people can do to reconnect with each other. Like, if at the end of the day, let's say all the family go and do an art activity like painting or music or something like this, that can be something so positive and so constructive for the family unit, actually, to find an activity around art, to really express the feelings, release the feelings, and connect all at the same time.
Right, right. Precisely, precisely. Because that is going to be bonding together, and that's an activity that goes through the person, like through the emotions of a person.
Yeah,
And it's going to really disconnect them from all the, like, from the virtual roles, what we were talking about, from the
absolutely.
just the virtual medium earlier.
And this is essential. It's really essential. We are now
Right,
put in a world where the screen takes more and more place, but if you want to keep your sanity, you need to find ways to disconnect and do other activities that don't involve this type of technology.
right, right. And also, like, they're taking up, like, it's also a good time for a person to take care of their emotional ambit, like what all things they wish to be in touch with, and with things they don't want to continue with, because that's withering away of a lot of things, would also play a major role in a person's happiness, like in
Absolutely.
overall mental health.
Absolutely. So it's a very challenging time, but it can be a really great time as well in terms of personal growth, development, and all of that. It all depends how you're facing it and how you choose to face it.
Right, right. It's just the perspective, like if it's been seen as an opportunity, a person can actually get a lot out of this situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It all
Right. There,
depends which kind of mindset you have, which kind of mindset you built for that.
right, right, right. Right. There are two types of people who are like one are the ones who are waiting for things to get normal. Second ones who have literally accepted the whole situation that okay, this is what it is, and
Yeah,
let's see what best we can do at this moment.
that's correct.
Right. That's good. That's really good. So anything further you would like to add?
Sorry?
Anything you would like to add to this?
Oh, I think we already covered a lot of ground here. I think it was a really good chat. I think any family out there who's still under lockdown, yes, the best thing they can really do is try to put boundaries and demarcations as much as they can to manage the different identities during the day, and don't get too much jammed up in their mind and in their emotions with all those identities and side of themselves that now have to appear under the same roof. I really still encourage everyone to not watch too much the news and the TV, because the more you watch and listen to things, the more you're putting yourself in a state of anxiety and stress. And this is not going to be constructive and helpful for the relationship unit, which is already put under stress. Connecting together at the end of the day, practicing in activities that don't involve any screen at all is going to be really helpful to help to connect and maintain the family unit, parents, husband and wife, and kids as well. And trying to find these demarcations as well between how you interact in the real world and how you interact in the online world. Implementing clear demarcation between how much time and with who I'm going to interact today online, and how much time and with who I'm going to interact today in the real world is really important as well, because without demarcations like this, we don't have any structure. And if we don't have any structure, we cannot find any balance.
Right.
And
Maintaining the balance is paramount in it.
yeah,
Right. Well, so it was a great chat with you, Emilie. Thank you so much for joining us, and it was
thank you.
really great interacting with you.
Thank you. Likewise.
Have a good day
Thank you.
and
Have a great day too.